Welcome to the No Bull Political Arena. With your hosts, Sophia Nelson, Bill O'Reilly, Brian Mistro, and TJ McCormick. It's real voices, raw politics, and no bullshit. Hi, everybody. It's Brian Mistro with the No Bull Political Arena. Thank you for joining us tonight. I'm here with TJ McCormick and Bill O'Reilly.
Sorry, am I on? Sorry.
Oh, we have a lot to talk about. And we're going to have to compress it, and we want to make sure we cover this with everybody as much as we can. But wow, what happened over the weekend? For those that don't know, in case you've been living in a cave, there was another ICE shooting in Minnesota. It was recorded by multiple people from multiple angles. And immediately after the shooting, DHS and the head of ICE came out with commentary that appears absolutely false, or on this show, as we say, complete bullshit. So of this show, as you're going to learn, I'm the most pro 2A probably of any of us. Maybe the most pro 2A person in Washington State. Okay.
For civilians, gun rights.
That's not hard.
Second Amendment.
That's
Second
not hard, right? So with that in mind, I got to tell you, I watched the videos of it. I've watched them from multiple angles. I've tried to be critical in my analysis of it. And in my strong opinion, ICE up, and it cost somebody's life. Now, for those again that don't know, he had a firearm on him. He had a 9mm, I think it was a SIG. I don't own that particular weapon. Let me rephrase that. I don't own that particular SIG. But it has some commentary that it may go off on its own when dropped.
Yep.
I kind of call that bullshit. Sorry. It's got a floating striker like all modern firearms do. If you maintain that weapon like you're supposed to, I don't see that happening. However, that has proved to come out be false as well. The gentleman, the victim, had the SIG in a plastic case holder, so you cannot pull the trigger in one of those cases. It's specifically made for that weapon. It was in his back waist, and it was not until ICE had him bent over towards his knees, towards the pavement, and they were spraying bear spray or whatever the hell that stuff is in his face, that when he bent over like that, it exposed his gun. When that happened, as we've seen from the video, and he had a spare magazine, I'm going to call it the agent in gray, in case we do share this video footage. I don't know what the YouTube rules are on us sharing this kind of video footage, but an agent in gray saw the magazine, threw it out on the street. Seconds later, with the gun still in its holster, he grabbed the firearm, pulled it out, and with 1 second of that, something happened.
Well, there's question whether the gun fired, and I think we'll know that.
It is, but it didn't fire in the holster. It fired when the gentleman in gray, from what I have seen, he pulled it out.
Yes.
So,
I mean, I don't think, Brian, we're going to adjudicate. This is going to, a million people are going to look at this. You're going to have judges looking at it, others looking at it. I think it makes to go a little bit, bit bigger on it, to take the camera out a little bit more. I mean, obviously somebody made a mistake, but not a criminal mistake. I don't think.
No.
Either they heard a shot or something, gun, they panicked. The situation shouldn't have been like that on either side.
Well,
as far as I'm concerned.
And you're right. We need to go and step out, because on this show, none of us are
forensics
self-defense
experts,
lawyers and so
That's
forth.
right. That's
However,
right.
where I do want to go with this is that the response from the administration was complete horseshit. It was immediately proven that the stuff that they said happened did not happen in the video. And that gentleman, in my strong opinion, should still be alive today. Now, did him taking a weapon and doing that, was it smart? We can argue that. I do it. If I go on marches, I always carry a firearm. Always. Okay. So was him carrying a firearm a dumb move? In my opinion, no. in the opinion
Would you confront law enforcement with a firearm on you, Brian?
I carry a firearm every single day.
All right, let me
Okay.
ask you something. If a scuffle started to break out, or if the guy started, would you not immediately, would it not be your immediate reflex to go, fellas, you're gonna find a gun on me. I am carrying a weapon, etc., etc. It's also my understanding that he did not have identification on him, which it's also my understanding as a way back here observer, not a 2A. I'm not a 2A. I don't go to sleep on it. You're supposed to always carry identification if you're carrying.
Okay.
This guy seems to be in violation of that. Again, not a reason to shoot him, not a
Yeah,
reason
we're
for him
not
to
blaming
die.
him, right? I think we don't. Right.
But
I gotta say, this guy seems like he was a great guy. Just
He
reading
was a
about him,
nurse at the
it was a
VA.
terrible situation. It was just an awful,
you know
awful,
what? You know
awful
what? And
situation.
go ahead. Go ahead.
I'm just gonna. It's an awful situation, but I agree with you, TJ. I
Okay.
agree with you. You can't attack law enforcement. This is
You
going to
cannot get
happen.
in the way. Forget ignoring. You cannot get in the way. I'm telling you right now, I am the whitest of the whitest, the most privileged of the privileged. About 2 months ago, I got pulled over on the Sprain Parkway going to do my radio show in New York City one late Saturday night. Cop pulled me over. I could not have been more apologetic. I could not have been more restrained and gentlemanly and aw shucksish and hands on the steering wheel. And I'm the guy who's supposed to have nothing to worry about.
Yeah, I don't.
Brian, a few moments before before the White House, before Noam came out with her very ill-advised. I think I texted to anybody that would read it. It's a big difference between he had a gun and he brandished a weapon.
Absolutely.
Big difference. However, a couple of minutes before that bullshit statement, the leadership in Minneapolis held their own rally of a press conference, calling it murder out of the gate and inciting more people, calling for calm and then inciting for more people to get in the way. The bullshit started in Minneapolis.
Okay. So to your question, it is not his responsibility. Is it smart to tell you you're carrying a weapon? Yeah. Do I do it? Yeah. It's not his responsibility. He's not legally required to do that by law. Full stop. Number two,
and also it all happened very quickly too. It looks
number
like.
two,
And again,
they did not know he did not have an ID until he was dead. So
Right.
that's no excuse there either.
I'm just talking
So
about
this-
I'm just talking about him being in compliance and doing what you're supposed to do, because few people are more in compliant than people that carry a piece.
Well, you would hope so. Okay.
Okay,
And
but
there's a lot of ignorant people out there that are 2A and they F it up for the rest of us. Okay. So that does
Fair.
happen.
but
Okay.
let's cut to the chase on both these shootings. Brian, would you charge the officers in the shootings?
I would. I will.
You would.
I,
You would.
I would charge the officers in the shootings. Absolutely.
Wow. Yeah.
I think
wow.
it was second-degree murder.
Holy.
I think
wow.
that it's a whole lot of screw ups. Okay. Some people are out there disagreeing with me and saying, oh no, it was much more serious than that. I don't think so. I think what this is a very likely, very good example of piss poor training, of piss poor leadership, and of piss poor communication. I don't know this, and this
But
has
what-
come up, but when they pulled out the gun, it's being reported that the officer that pulled it out yelled gun, and it was immediately after that the victim was shot. Okay.
Yeah, I'm right. It should not have happened. But what do you say about people trying to do legitimate law enforcement and being followed block after block, thrown at, spit at, everything,
It's
cars in
wrong.
the way?
It's
Yeah.
wrong, but our nation was founded on civil disobedience. It was literally founded on civil disobedience, and if it was not for peaceful civil disobedience, blacks would still have their own bathrooms. Okay, so I fully support carrying a firearm, and I fully support carrying a firearm while you are exercising your constitutional right. Okay, for civil disobedience. But in this case, he was shot. Let me tell you where it crossed the line for me. Okay, I'll tell you where it crossed the line for me.
Yep.
When his hands were restrained out in front of him, and they had them pinned, and the agent pulled the gun, that man was at no point during that, okay, a risk to an officer or anybody else. That is
According
a
to whom?
no-no. That is a
According to
no-no.
whom, though?
Okay,
Like,
no, no,
there's
I'm watching
subjectivity
the
here.
video. I've seen the
There's
video. It
no, no,
is.
no. But you're not in the situation. You're in a scuffle. You hear a gun go off, and someone screams "gun," and you do your training and open up. It was awful. It was awful. It shouldn't have
You're in a
happened.
scuffle in a job where your entire goal is to get home at the end of the shift. You're in a scuffle in a city that has been riled up to the that has had a good portion of its residents riled up and incited to hate you and stalk you, and you never know what's coming from a leftist. You never know what's coming from a leftist. You know what? I'm sorry. And again, Brian, your understanding of this is something that is a benefit to somebody like me. I one time I held a real gun, and it was totally gutted because I was playing a cop in a sitcom. That's as close as I've ever come to holding a weapon. Okay.
Good. Good. Stick with it.
Yeah, and good. I tell you. So I mean, I freely, clearly, okay. However, again, civil disobedience to me is a sit-in. Civil disobedience to me is chaining yourself to the gate so they can't get their cars in or out. Civil disobedience is not getting in between you
Right.
and law enforcement and their job, especially when you think about who they are pursuing. They are pursuing, most times, true, proper, hardened criminals. And again, they're operating in a city that has been incited to hate them and stalk them and get in the way and arguably put them in the position for this to happen. Those Democrats, Jacob Fry wants dead people. Tim Walz wants dead people. That's how I feel about the left. The left has has zero care about this thing because the ends justify everything. The ends justify everything.
I'm going to add to that. If you're listening to this, you're thinking absolutely. Their job is difficult. I have no doubt they're getting spit at. I've as much as everybody else that has watched any parts of any of these, whether it be Portland or whether it be Minneapolis or wherever they've done this, there is a group that staunchly believes in harassing the ever-loving shit out of them to the point that most of us would lose our temper, right? I mean, I think
Yep.
we can all three agree with that.
Yep.
Could I do that job? No.
I clearly could not do that.
But that is the job that they chose to do. That is the job that they got a $50,000 bonus to sign up for. That is the job. And if you don't have the temperament to be a policeman, if you don't have the temperament to be a fireman, if you don't have the temperament to be a part of ICE, you shouldn't be there. Okay. So yeah, is the job unfair? Do they have to put up with a lot of bullshit? Yeah. I have to put up a lot of bullshit on stuff too. Okay. But I know my limits, and I know from a mental standpoint what I can take from somebody before I lose my shit. And they should know the same thing. And I'm going to go back to this as a leadership problem. And we're going to go, I'm going to mention why, and I'm not alone in this. This is a leadership problem
We
because
know you're not alone.
yeah, I'm definitely not alone. This is a leadership problem because that's what you weed out when they're coming in. Okay. If you're going to be a police officer, you weed their personality out. You make sure they're capable of being able to handle this. And I'm not alone. So let me just tell you, as everybody can see, we're gonna put up the slide here. Republicans in the Senate are not happy.
Yep.
As of last count, it's Husted of Ohio, certainly not a Democrat, Ricketts of Nebraska, Cassidy, McCormick, Murkowski, Paul, and this is just as I caught up with the news before we started this. Every single one of those senators said, we want Department of Homeland Security come sit in front of us and find out what the hell is going on. Okay.
Exactly.
So
that's
and
what's
that
supposed to
makes
happen.
sense. And that
Right.
makes sense.
And Brian, you make excellent points about the training, about weeding people out. 100%. We see that in police departments also, and you'll never find law enforcement leaders not say that. They know there are people out there that shouldn't be on the street, and they try and weed them out. 100%. What I'd like to do though a little bit, because I think you probably both saw that the president and Governor Walz spoke later today, and they're going to pull back a little bit. They agreed. They
And we'll
decided
put
to do
that
things.
up right here too. Yeah.
Yeah, which is very likely due to some of the Republicans in the Senate breaking.
Yeah.
So what happens now? Like, let's look at this carefully. Let's slow it down a little bit. What happens now if ICE just completely capitulates? Does the left then go after all the ICE agents in the same way around the country, or is everybody really going to step back? Like, it's a tricky way. Like, both sides need to save face a little bit, and I think we need to find a way to do it if this is really going to be a détente.
What is, yeah, and that's a great question. What is the
Like,
solution going forward?
right,
Okay.
does the left acknowledge the right to pick up people who are here illegally? That's a very fundamental question, because if not, we got a huge problem.
And also does the left, because something else missing from that picture, something else missing from almost all of these scenes, including that day when Ms. Good was shot and killed. Something missing is the presence of uniformed Minneapolis police keeping the peace, keeping people at bay, establishing perimeters so these guys can work, because it is an it's a sanctuary city led by a leftist who hates everything because the ends justify everything. It doesn't matter. You can also connect dots between the sanctuary policy and these two dead people not being there to keep the good and the pretty this gentleman from
Alex,
being
yeah.
from being involved again. This is a sanctuary policy in action. Those cops were not there.
So the sheriff of Minneapolis, okay, once again, I'm just telling you, you're talking about cops. So he came out and he called for the National Guard. We can put that
they're
up
political.
too.
They're political.
Okay.
They're political.
They
They're political.
are, they are, but you know what? Cooperation works two ways. Okay. And so you don't just ask cooperation from the police. ICE has to cooperate as well. And they did not here. As a matter of fact, it got so bad that the sheriff is now complaining they fucked up the crime scene so bad they're not even sure that they're going to be able to use it. So again, cooperation works both ways, and it's not happening.
That goes
here.
back on them. These guys are not cops. These guys are not.
Then they
cops.
shouldn't be doing that. They shouldn't. They're
doing their job. They're out there.
Then they
looking
should have
for
illegals.
They should have support and backup from the local cops. But because the leftist jackass and those that support them encourage these sanctuary policies that prevent the cops from keeping order and letting them collect the illegals. Jesus Christ.
No.
Clear as day.
No, it's not clear as day because they have people that they report to as well. Their job is to support the citizens of their city. He was elected in that city to support his citizens, okay?
Exactly.
And to do the law. But again, I'm not seeing this coming from either side. Go ahead, Bill.
I got a question. Does this move along or begin to move along actual legislation in Congress?
Okay, so that's it. Let's move
like,
to
are we actually getting to the point where we're saying this is now not just ridiculous, people are getting killed?
How dare you calm things down, Bill? Go ahead. What?
You know me, that's not my nature. But like what happens now? Like, is there there seems I think there's a compromise available right now where you decide who you're going to take out. If you could take out truly bad guys that are criminals and they're wife beaters and doing bad stuff,
yes,
I
wish we'd get back to that.
Completely agree.
Yes. I wish we'd get back to that.
It's the kids getting pulled out of classrooms. It's that kind of stuff that's just driving people nuts. And you know, Trump does it on purpose to drive people nuts, and the left takes it, and it goes back and forth and back and forth.
I agree.
Is it finally time for Congress to do its effing job?
Okay,
and to like take a risk?
I agree with that. I'm going to take a hit at Democrats for a second over this, which TJ's going to love. They're part of the reason that we are where we are right now because of these cities. Because of what they're doing, and because they're not going to come together and try to find some kind of compromise in a way to move forward with legislation, to Bill's point, that we resolve this issue. Okay.
Finally.
And there's a hell of a big difference between somebody that's a rapist, that's an illegal alien, and somebody that's been here for 30 years, has never even been to Mexico, was born here. Okay. Totally. And they're looking at deporting him. So I completely agree with that.
No, it's still illegal. We're not throwing 15 million people out of the country. We can't do it. The economy will collapse. It's not doable. We'd end up with riots in the street. Like, we have to acknowledge we're not throwing that number of people out of the country. So who are the ones that really should be thrown out? And maybe we're at the point where we can start to at least
have that conversation.
Have that conversation.
Well,
And
I
maybe some of
suspect.
those senators
I don't think the
are going to be
Democrats are
leading that.
capable. I don't think the Democrats are capable.
Well,
I think they're scared out of their minds of the far left. I think all of our politicians are so much more concerned about their own incumbency that they cling to the extremes of each side. And I think if there is any moderation, it's on the right and certainly not the Democrats.
no,
TJ,
I don't agree with that either. And I'm not
Congressman
even a
Tom
damn
Swat,
Democrat.
no, Congressman Tom Swazi, who's become very famous recently, he made 450% stock returns
Yeah.
during his 7 years in Congress while he was ostensibly serving
Lucky
people.
guy.
450 millions and millions of dollars, just incredible. But he came out today and he put out a statement saying, "I'm sorry that I voted for DHS funding
I saw that.
for the Department of Homeland Security. I'm sorry that I voted like money for Homeland Security." Come on, it gets crazy.
And
That's like
he's a
loony
moderate.
land.
And he's a
He's
moderate on Long Island.
To his point, he's terrified of the left. Like you just said, Brian, about TJ. I was following up on you.
Yes.
He's so afraid of a DSA primary, Democratic Socialist of America primary, or just a hard left primary, that he's willing to say, "Oh, I was wrong to support law enforcement in America for
So
Homeland Security."
so yeah. Now so again, I'm going to qualify that because it's something else I wanted us to talk about today. Right now, we have an appropriations bill that's coming up. It's already been passed by the House. We had 7 Democrats, including the Congresswoman that I helped get elected, okay, in Washington State, who voted for it, and to move it forward. If those Democrats had not voted for it, it would have failed. Okay, that's where we are. I have since had the Congresswoman and a little side note, since she passed that vote for a yes, she has now come out and said we got to get rid of Noam. There is now, this is as of last count. Okay, so maybe an hour or 2 hours ago, 140 Democrats that have signed on to impeach Noam. Now, we both know, all three of us know, and every single person that has ever paid attention to anything in politics knows she's not going to be found guilty in the Senate. Okay. I don't care even if they reach the threshold. But we were talking about what are we going to do to try to come to the table, Democrats and Republicans and independents, to come to the table and talk about a resolution moving forward that makes everybody happy, or at least everybody can deal with it. Okay. Stephen Miller's not going to be happy until everybody that's not that has anything but whites out of this country. Okay. I get that. All right. But let me just tell you the other piece of it. That appropriations bill comes in Friday. It has to have 60 votes. It's not there right now. It's not there. Even King, who voted for the last one, and some of the other Democrats are saying, I'm not doing it until they reform ICE. I'm not dropping another penny into the DHS until they reform ICE. Chuck Schumer has come out. His position right now is that what they want to do is strip out DHS funding and keep the other funding, which has the Coast Guard and FEMA and some of the other things, which all of us agree should be funded, maybe needs more funding. Okay.
So we have no immigration agents. Is that what we're saying? We're going to have a country where nobody is charged with picking up people here legally?
Well, so
That's utter insanity.
I've been on the bandwagon that for when Democrats first started saying let's defund ICE, that is the dumbest damn thing you could ever say. That's going to go over about as well as defund the police. Sorry. Okay. It's stupid. But we're talking about how do we get people to sit down and talk to each other? How do we reform the system? How do we make legislation that everybody can deal with so we avoid people getting killed in this type of scenario? And that's probably what it's going to come to this Friday. I would not be surprised with the absolute Democrat blowback that that Chuck Schumer puts on the brakes and we go into a full shutdown, because if the Senate changes that bill at all, it has to go back to the House. I don't know that Johnson's going to pick it up. Okay.
I'm sorry. By the way, I just think, just to nuance that, just to look at, I don't think it's the dumbest thing in the world to say defund ICE. I don't think that's akin to saying defund the police, because ICE is not border patrol. ICE is not, and I think it's stupid, but I think in terms of the dopey ass Democrats messaging that will work, because ICE is now the equivalent of bad. ICE is the ones they're calling Gestapo. ICE is the ones that are the ones that are the Nazis. So they're not stupid. stupid and the ends justify everything. They don't actually care. And so, no, I think it's actually not a dumb move to say defund ICE because they're the bad guys and ICE is not exactly helping themselves.
What do you think, Bill? Would you use that? So I'm completely opposite. I completely disagree with TJ on that. I think it's the most terrible way to message it. What do
I
you think?
To their own side. They find and it's a lot
They
of
can't win
brainwashed
with their
people.
own side. They proved that in the last election.
Yeah, I mean, we've
Go ahead,
talked
Bill.
about this on the show before. Everybody's trying to be as pure ideologically and as far to the right or
Yeah.
left as possible. And that's what you're seeing. And they want to, you got to say the right words and defund ICE and the rest of it. Look how many people took back defund the police. I mean, good God, I mean, we saw that you had
Yeah.
inner city communities begging for cops. It's a month in, they're like, we need the cops back. It's a hellhole here. So yeah, and I do
It
see,
was just
with the
dumb.
appropriations bill, maybe it's part of a bigger negotiation, or maybe it's Chuck Schumer worried about 2028 and trying to get his name back. Chuck Schumer is crap in New York. He is
He's worried
dead to
about
rights in New
AOC
York.
is what he's worried about.
He's worried about AOC, and she is the left. And so, watch Schumer. Schumer's going to be very busy in the next few weeks.
Yeah, watching his own back. Well, it's I'm no fan of his to say the least. I can't believe that he's still leading the Senate, quite frankly.
Yep.
But be that as it may, we have a real good chance of some legislation or at least some discussions coming that hopefully can slow down what's happening in the Minnesota cities of the country. Okay. It's not just Minnesota. And hopefully we can find some resolution into that.
Brian, what you just real quick, Brian, what did you something happened today? I was curious when it happened. I thought, oh, I wonder how Brian thought that went. What did you think about when Trump proactively went out there and said, I spoke to walls. It was a good conversation.
Um,
Isn't
yeah,
isn't
thanks
he
for
isn't
bringing
he
that
being
up.
isn't he being the adult in the room here? I hate to
Uh,
do this to you.
well, no. I'm glad you brought that up. I think that's a good question. I'm not sure that he had a choice. The polling on this is horrible. They've even lost Republicans over it. I think that if he's going into a midterm, the last polling I saw was that 50% of independents are completely against this. And that's who's going to decide the election, not the Democrats. Okay. So I don't think he had a choice. But to your point, yes, I'm glad he did that. I think it was the right move. And then Waltz's comment back, that I've spoken with the president. It was a good conversation. We
Good for both
found
of them.
some agreement. It lowers the temperature, right?
Good for
TJ?
both of them.
It
Right.
lowers the temperature some, and it shows some communication. And
Mm.
also, what has happened that we haven't talked about yet, to my point, is Donald Trump sent Tom Homan to Minnesota, and he said Tom Homan reports directly to me. So if you're Kristi Noem, okay, and he just sent somebody that you don't like, by the way, to effectively report and oversee what you're doing, I think Kristi Noem's in the hot seat. I think she's squirming right now.
If I were a
The
dog,
reports
I'd
out
get
of the
away
White
from
House
her.
is that
Yeah.
she is. Do what?
If
What'd
I
she
were a
go?
dog, I'd get away from her right now.
You know,
Christine Ohm is the single hottest government official in the history of the United States of America.
oh my God, no.
Holy
Oh,
God in
oh,
heaven. Oh my
TJ.
I
God.
some other
Donald Trump
options,
has
but I'm
bigger
gonna hold
boobs
my
than she
tongue.
does.
Stop.
Phenomenal. I told you, I'm going to renounce my citizenship, become illegal, and then turn myself into Christine.
I'll visit you in Kiel.
Oh, all right. Well, it was a great conversation today. I told you, those of you watching us, we're gonna get a little lit sometimes. We're gonna stand our ground. It doesn't mean we always agree. So,
100%.
but the reality is that sooner or later, TJ will realize I'm always right. All right. Any last thoughts, Bill? How do we get out of this stuff? What do you
God
think?
bless America. God bless America. Let's
Yeah.
take it
TJ,
down. Take it down.
We'll be fine. We'll be fine. We'll get there. We'll be fine.
All right. Well, thanks everybody for watching. Number one, You're going to hear a lot more commentary like this. We are going to try to have some economics folks on this week to talk about the dollar and the reserve currency status. We're also going to play some promos this week, and there's only 1 or 2 minutes during our show to show you some of these other shows that are coming out. Our show's political. Not all the shows that are coming out in our political arena are political. Okay, there's some really cool stuff coming out that we want you to see, and we're going to keep serving it up to you like we do Monday through Friday, and it's going to be straight up. Please, please, please subscribe to our channel. It's right there on YouTube. It's at No Bull Media Group. It's easy. Doesn't cost you a penny. This is free, and you can see all of our programming, plus the new shows that are coming and everything else that's happening. So thank you, everybody, for joining us. We really appreciate it, and we will see you tomorrow.
Thanks, everyone.
The No Bull Political Arena is on all major social media platforms. Make sure to give us and your host a follow.
Hey everybody, this is Sophia Nelson. Follow me at I am Sophia Nelson on every one of my social media platforms.
I'm Bill O'Reilly, and you can reach me at Twitter at WFBOR.
Hey, this is TJ. Follow me on X or Twitter at TJ McCormack.
This is Brian Mistro, and you can follow me on X at Brian_Mistro or follow along on Facebook at Brian.Mistro.
A No Bull Media Group member.